There comes a moment in certain lives when silence begins to speak louder than noise, when the ordinary rhythm of the world no longer satisfies the soul, and when a person feels an invisible pull towards something greater, something unseen yet undeniable. If you are reading these words and feel that stirring within you, understand this truth deeply. You were not chosen by accident. You were chosen by heaven. Long before you took your first breath, long before your name was spoken aloud, a calling was placed upon your spirit. That calling is not random, and it is not small. It is rising now because the time has come for you to awaken to who you truly are. Being chosen by heaven does not mean your life would be easy. In fact, it often means the opposite. The chosen ones are rarely spared from pain. They are shaped by it. You may have wondered why your journey felt heavier than others, why betrayal found you early, why loneliness became familiar, or why you were forced to mature before your time. These were not punishments, they were preparations. Heaven trains its chosen ones in hidden places, away from applause, away from recognition, where character is built and the soul is refined. While others were distracted by comfort, you were being strengthened by adversity. Your calling is rising because you are no longer who you once were. The old versions of you, those shaped by fear, doubt, and survival, are falling away. You can feel it in your restlessness, in your refusal to settle for shallow connections or meaningless routines. What once satisfied you no longer does. What once frightened you no longer holds the same power. This inner shift is not confusion. It is activation. Heaven is awakening something that was dormant inside you. Something ancient and purposeful. Chosen by heaven often feel different from the beginning. Even as a child, you may have sensed that you did not fully belong. You observed more than you spoke. You felt deeply, sometimes painfully. You questioned things others accepted without thought. This sensitivity was not weakness, it was discernment. Heaven gave you eyes to see beyond appearances, and a heart capable of carrying truth. That is why the world may have tried to harden you, to silence you, or to make you doubt yourself. But what heaven marks, the world cannot erase. Your calling is rising because the season of hiding is ending. For a long time, your gifts may have gone unnoticed, your voice unheard, your efforts unrecognized. This was not because you lacked value, but because timing matters in divine assignments. Fruit picked too early is bitter. Fire revealed too soon burns without purpose. Heaven waits until the chosen one is ready. Not perfect, but surrendered. Now the lessons you learned in private are about to serve others in public. What once wounded you will soon heal others. Understand this clearly. Your calling is not about ego, superiority, or being above others. Heaven does not choose to elevate pride. It chooses to release service. Your calling is rising because the world needs what you carry. It needs your empathy in a time of cruelty, your truth in an age of deception, your courage in a culture of fear. You were shaped to stand when others run, to speak when others stay silent, and to love even when love costs something. There will be resistance. There always is when heaven's chosen begin to rise. You may feel misunderstood, criticized, or even attacked, sometimes by those closest to you. Do not be surprised. Light disrupts darkness simply by existing. Your growth will make others uncomfortable, not because you are wrong, but because it reminds them of what they have ignored within themselves. Stay grounded, stay humble, stay aligned. Heaven defends what it appoints. Your calling is rising because you have survived what should have broken you. Think back on the moments you thought you would not make it. The nights filled with tears, The prayers whispered through exhaustion, the times you stood alone, with nothing but faith. You are still here. That alone is evidence of divine protection. Heaven does not preserve lives without purpose. Every breath you take is confirmation that your assignment is not complete. You may not yet see the full picture of your calling, and that is okay. Heaven reveals vision in layers, not all at once. If you saw everything now, it might overwhelm you. Instead, you are given just enough light for the next step. Walk it faithfully. Trust that clarity will come with movement. The rising of your calling does not demand perfection. It requires obedience, courage, and willingness. As your calling rises, you may feel a deeper separation from old patterns, old habits, and old relationships. This is not loss, it is alignment. You cannot carry a divine assignment while clinging to what no longer serves your growth. Letting go is painful, but holding on would cost you more. Heaven is not taking things away to punish you. It is making room for what belongs to your future. Chosen by heaven means you are accountable not only for what you do, but for what you ignore. You can no longer pretend you do not feel the pull, the whisper, the urging within. Your spirit knows when you are living beneath your calling. That discomfort is sacred. It is heaven reminding you that you were made for more. Not more fame, not more wealth, but more meaning, more impact, more truth. Your calling is rising because you are learning to listen inwardly rather than seeking constant validation from the world. You are discovering that approval fades, but purpose sustains. When you stand aligned with heaven, even rejection becomes redirection. Even delays become divine timing. Even pain becomes instruction. Remember this: heaven does not rush, and heaven does not forget. Every season of waiting was necessary. Every closed door was protection. Every delay was alignment. Now, as your calling rises, walk forward without fear. You do not need to convince anyone of who you are. Your life will speak. Your peace will speak. Your impact will speak. You were chosen not because you are flawless, but because you are willing. Willing to grow, willing to surrender, willing to serve, willing to rise. And as you rise, you will realize that heaven was never distant. It was guiding you all along. Your calling is not coming. It is already here. It is rising within you now. And heaven is watching, not to judge, but to support what it has already chosen. And now, something within you is shifting faster than ever before. You may not be able to explain it clearly, but you feel it. In your thoughts, in your dreams, in the quiet moments when your soul speaks louder than your fears. The season you are entering does not ask you to hide anymore. It asks you to stand, not loudly, not arrogantly, but firmly, rooted in truth. This is what it means to be chosen by heaven. When the time comes, you rise, not because the world applauds you, but because your spirit can no longer remain small. Your calling is rising because heaven knows you are ready to carry it. Ready not because you have no fear, but because fear no longer controls you. Ready not because you have all the answers, but because you trust the one who does. The strength you carry now was earned in darkness, built in silence, forged in moments when quitting would have been easier than believing. Heaven watched every moment. Not one tear was wasted. Not one battle was unseen. There will come a day, soon, when you will look back and finally understand why things happened the way they did. Why certain doors never opened. Why certain people walked away. Why your path felt lonely even when you were surrounded by others. You will realize that heaven was protecting your calling long before you understood it. What felt like delay was design. What felt like loss was preparation. What felt like rejection was redirection. As your calling rises, you will no longer chase validation. You will attract alignment. The noise of the world will grow quieter, and the voice within will grow clearer. You will speak with calm authority. You will move with grounded confidence. You will no longer explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. Heaven does not require you to be accepted, only aligned. Understand this deeply. Not everyone will celebrate your rise. Some will doubt you. Some will question you. Some will distance themselves because your growth exposes their stagnation. Let them go with peace. Your calling was never meant to be carried by crowds. It was meant to be carried by courage. Heaven walks ahead of you, even when others turn away. One day, your life will become the proof that obedience matters, that faith matters, that surrender matters. Someone will look at you and find hope again, not because you are perfect, but because you are real, because you rose without bitterness, because you survived without losing your soul, because you answered heaven's call when it would have been easier to stay comfortable. This is the moment where excuses fall silent. This is the moment where fear loosens its grip. This is the moment where heaven says, now. Not later, not someday, now. You were not chosen to blend in. You were not chosen to stay hidden forever. You were not chosen to live a life that feels empty inside. You were chosen to rise. So rise without apology. Rise with humility and fire. Rise knowing that heaven does not make mistakes. And when you finally step fully into who you were always meant to be, you will understand this truth with absolute clarity. You were never behind. You were never forgotten. You were never overlooked. You were being prepared, chosen by heaven, called with purpose. And now, your calling is rising.